I don't think that they could handle, because from the beginning, they just hide everything. And I don't think that this kind of government, a liar and even a murderer, can solve anything. I don't believe they could solve anything.
$5,000 per passenger. That's how much money Malaysia Airlines says it's offered the families of those missing on Flight 370. When that news made rounds, Twitter buzzed with outrage. Lil Duval wrote, "They giving each family on that Malaysia flight only $5,000? What? They just paying for the lost luggage?" But that's just the first installment to help with the initial expenses. There's an international treaty called the Montreal Convention that makes sure they'll get at least $150,000 to $175,000 per passenger, and an opportunity for more. Joining us via Skype from Geneva, Illinois, aviation attorney Floyd Wisner, who's represented families from Air France 447 and TWA 800, among other crashes. Floyd, thanks so much for joining us. Let me begin here with your reaction to this $5,000, because the outrage on Twitter exploded when people were hearing this number. Now we're hearing it's just an initial payment. Is this standard operating procedures, give them $5,000 up front?
Hi, Vinny. Thanks for having me on your program. Basically, it's standard operating procedure to offer families some money for financial hardship at the outset. This should have been done weeks ago when the plane was first discovered missing. Beyond that, it's unbelievably small amount. I anticipate that the insurer's attorneys for Malaysia Air, who I'm sure have been retained from the moment this plane disappeared, now will embark on a different strategy of trying to offer the families an amount, I would guess, somewhere in the round of $400,000 per passenger in order to get them to release not only Malaysia Air, but Boeing, Rolls-Royce, everybody potentially involved. That'll be the next thing they'll do.
All right, so walk us through. We've heard about this Montreal Convention. What's that all about? And there's a guarantee that they have to pay a certain amount of money, and then how do you get money above and beyond that?
Yes, it's kind of interesting. The Montreal Convention applies as to claims against the airline only. We're not talking about claims against the manufacturer, Boeing, or against any component manufacturer. We're just talking about the airline. And it's actually a two-stage procedure, Vinny. For the first 113,000 special drawing rights, which is an international monetary unit, comes out to about 175,000 US right now. That has to be paid unless the airline can prove, and the burden's on the airline. The airline must prove that it took all necessary measures to avoid the loss, or a third party is solely responsible for the loss. Very difficult for the airline to prove. So in almost all cases, that amount should be paid by the airline right away. Then beyond that, the passengers are entitled to compensation based upon their proof that the airline was negligent and proof of their damages. And if I may, what's a very interesting part of this case, Vinny, is that there may be disparate treatment of the claims of the passengers and the amount of compensation paid depending upon their nationality, which is very unfair.
All right, Floyd, let me ask you this, because something else that the families want. Obviously, you know, if they've lost a loved one, you know, they should be compensated damages. But I'm sure for a lot of them, they want answers. And
exactly. From
your experience, when you get into litigation, do you get the answers, or do they just try to throw money at the victims to try to make it just go away, so we never find out what really happened?
That's an excellent question. And what the families want, you hit it right on the head. What they want, first of all, is answers. They want to find out what happened to their loved one. Next, they want to hold the people responsible for their family's loss. And third, they want to prevent any such thing from happening again. Compensation only comes at the end, at the last. And you're right that the insurers for Malaysia Air and others will try to pay the families off for as small amount as they can get, particularly the non-Americans, and keep the truth from ever coming out. Now, one good thing about the American discovery system and the American justice system, as you know, as a lawyer, is maligned oftentimes. But one good thing about it is the discovery process that we have. And if we're allowed to use it, we as lawyers can get to the bottom of this.
Fantastic. Well, Floyd, we really appreciate your time today, and it's really a great perspective that we got from someone who's been there before and unfortunately may have to be there again for some of the passengers of this flight.